Now on Denver 7 News at 4, everyone's talking about wildfires.
They have gotten progressively bigger, progressively worse.
What you need to know about this fire season and how to get prepared.
Record high inflation may have you buying things like a car earlier than planned. That's in fear of prices going up even more, but we'll tell you why that fear could be causing inflation to rise even faster. And the new type of tattoo ink that is making it possible to get a temporary image on your body. How this is different than the temporary tattoos that you might remember.
We start today with the latest on our Weather Action Day. This fire off of I-25 in Interquest north of Colorado Springs is just the latest wildfire we've seen grow to these hot, dry, and windy conditions up and down the Front Range. Thankfully, Colorado Springs says that they were able to knock the fire down before it damaged any structures. And also take a look at this. This is a live picture from the weather camera down in La Junta in southeastern Colorado. You can see that smoke right there. Many fires in that area right now, including one in Kiowa County that has evacuated 2 small towns. So we will keep monitoring that on this Weather Action Day as we also bring in our meteorologist, Stacey Donaldson. Stacey, we mentioned you got the single-digit humidity, high winds, record-breaking heat. Not a good combo.
No, a lot going on today. Very dangerous situation across Colorado. We've broken our record afternoon high. We've now made it to 89 degrees for our high, the previous record 88. We have 80s and 90s across the eastern portion of Colorado with 50s and 60s for the high country. Our winds now are 49 miles an hour in Denver, 56 for Colorado Springs, and notice Alamosa at 66 mile an hour winds. These winds coming in from the south, and they're very strong and will continue as we go through the rest of the afternoon and evening. And as promised, we talked about yesterday, these humidity levels would drop between 5 and 10%. That's exactly what they've done. So it's very dry out there at this point. Red flag warning in effect for all of eastern Colorado, and a dust storm warning just issued for Alamosa. Remember, those winds are blowing at 66 miles an hour. The visibility is down to about a quarter mile or less with the dust blowing down in that area. We also have an air quality warning for blowing dust into southwestern Colorado. High wind warning for the eastern plains and parts of western Colorado for winds up to 65 miles an hour. Air quality alert all across the eastern plains and through the southern part of the state for blowing dust. There is a lot going on. Blowing dust advisory for low visibilities from Salida to Alamosa into Burlington and Lamar as well. So outside now we have these cloudy skies. We have blowing dust. We're going to continue to see these high winds as we go through the rest of this evening, along with high fire danger. But big changes coming with a cold front affecting our weekend, and I'll have details on that coming up.
Thank you, Stacey. And while it's basically always fire season at this point, right about now is when Colorado's fire season historically starts. And today, the state of Colorado released their summer wildfire outlook, and our Russell Haythorne was there.
Yeah, I'm Russell Haythorne at Centennial Airport, where fire officials and state officials just wrapped up a news conference here at Centennial Airport, and really not sugarcoating things in terms of the fire outlook this season. Obviously, we're moving into wildfire season, and state officials say it is very severe at this moment. They say everyone in Colorado should be prepared. Firefighters and other experts say the key takeaway from today's news conference is that nearly everyone living in Metro Denver and along the Front Range in Colorado is in some sort of danger zone. Snowpack peaked back in March, when the normal peak is typically in early May, and drought-like conditions persist on much of the Front Range, while fire officials feel more prepared than ever with more firefighting assets than ever before, like these aircraft. The threat is still severe and the outlook very grim unless we get more moisture soon.
Our drought conditions are such that it's a high fire danger, and the prediction through the first half of this year, is hot, dry, windy, and if you also look at our recent fires and how I talked about how they have gotten progressively bigger, progressively worse, progressively more just in the last several years. That's an indication that this problem is continuing to grow.
At Centennial Airport, Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
Thank you, Russell. And with more homes facing the threat of fires, it seems more vital than ever to be prepared to evacuate on a moment's notice. Denver 7's Rob Harris sat down with a survivor of the Marshall Fire and learned what she wishes someone had told her before she had to leave her home.
I'm Tanya Summeru. I'm a Marshall Fire survivor. I lost my home in Louisville, Colorado. Fires do crazy erratic things. Look outside, and if it looks like something is on fire and debris is blowing towards your home, there's a good chance the fire is coming towards you and it's time to start evacuating. So always use your common sense. Don't wait for someone to tell you it's time to go. I was feeling complete panic and disbelief. I was trying to warn my neighbors, I was trying to look around and make sure everyone was escaping, and I was trying to take things from the house at the same time. The thing I wish I did is, I've heard the advice that you should go around and videotape everything in your house. And when you go to make your insurance claim, it actually is pretty hard to remember all the things that you had in your house. So it would be pretty easy to go through with your phone and video all your tools in the garage and the little things in the cabinets that you forget. It'll help you remember what's there. When you're evacuating your house from a fire, you are going to have food and water and things like that. You don't need to worry about that, actually. If you want to buy clothes again, you can buy clothes again. You know, you want to grab a few things that are important mementos, maybe the medications you need, any medical devices that are hard to replace, especially if they're on back order. I'm so glad when I evacuated my house that I grabbed some of my children's stuffies and their baby blankets. When we were in the hotel and we evacuated, they slept with them, they carry them around all the time now. Like, the fact that we saved them from the house makes them even more important to the kids than they were before. We'll learn to live with this new reality. We'll be okay, I think, eventually. So that's my story.
So glad that she did that. That must not have been easy to talk about. But not only do we need to make a plan before disaster strikes, but we got to practice it. That way, it's already ingrained in our minds for when adrenaline inevitably takes over in the moment. And this should make it easier. Just remember the 5 P's. People and pets, and the essentials that they need, like carriers, food, and water bowls. Prescriptions, at least a week's supply. Important papers, like your ID, insurance policies, and bank records. Personal needs, like your phone and clothing to protect you from the elements. And of course, the priceless items that can't be replaced, like the blanket you just saw. Those are the 5 P's. And we will be monitoring conditions all day for you. So of course, you can stay up to date on any fires and evacuations in our area with the Denver 7 Plus app that can be downloaded for free right now, and also now.
The city of Philadelphia ended its indoor mask mandate today after less than a week. The health department says as a decrease in hospitalizations has happened and new virus cases have leveled off, they've made this change. The city was the first large area to reinstate a mask mandate and faced heavy criticism and legal challenges. U.S. federal health leaders are considering reviewing both Pfizer and Moderna's vaccines for young children at the same time. Kids 5 and younger still have no protection from the virus. Moderna already shared some of its data. Pfizer is not available yet. The big difference is Moderna is a 2-dose vaccine. Pfizer is 3. The FDA wants to make sure that people are not confused by dosing as they consider approval, and it could be summer before that happens. The pandemic has shown us a lot about people's perceptions of science.
Science matters, and what people think about science matters.
3M studies it every year for its State of Science report that just came out, and it found that, maybe not a surprise here, disinformation is dividing people. When it comes to science, 72% of respondents trust traditional media. Just 37% trust what they see on social media. Jayshree Seth, 3M's chief science advocate, says that this has the attention of the entire science community.
People do place their trust in news stories about science higher than other topics, but overall trust is low. So we have to address the problem of misinformation, especially as it relates to science. I think there's also this recognition now regarding the need for training around literacy. And it's not just scientific literacy that we have pretty much focused on as a science community, I would say, and scientific literacy, not just for the youth, but for adults as well. So scientific literacy, media literacy, digital literacy.
The report found many Americans see tech advancements like self-driving cars, space travel, even robot firefighters becoming part of everyday life in the next decade. And State says that their job now is to remind people that science plays a critical role.
We really want people to connect science to the fact that you can find solutions. So I feel it's very inspiring. I think it fosters trust. I think it instills hope.
Now, we have seen billions of dollars in unemployment benefit fraud during the pandemic, but actually getting that taxpayer money back has proven to be quite the challenge. The obstacles our investigative team found that the government is facing and what it's going to take to fix this.
This may be surprising, but many of the firefighters on the front lines this fire season do not actually work for a fire department. We will share some of the things volunteer firefighters say that you can do to give them a hand during these dry conditions.